Hey everyone, welcome back to Shigaraki. Today, we have an amazing story on what if Deku stole the Speed Force and become faster than time. If you enjoy these videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps the channel grow now. Let's jump straight into the video. When Izuku Midoriya woke up in the halls of UA, 9 months had passed since he had been struck by lightning. Wait a minute, why am I in UA? Oh good, you are awake. Am I a mouse, a dog, a bear? Never mind all that. I'm the principal, Nizu said, hopping onto Izuku's bed to check the boy's vitals. You see, young man, you were struck by lightning during your conversation with All Might. So, he decided to bring you here with the Hatsum's permission, of course. Right was all coming back to him now. Flashback. It had been the night that the sludge villain attacked. With Izuku being quirkless, he could only stand by and watch as All Might came from the heavens and defeated him with one punch. After that, he asked to speak to the number 1 hero in private, which All Might obliged, carrying him to the top of a building. Is it possible to be a hero even without a quirk? Izuku had asked, hoping against hope. He knew the answer already. He knew that All Might would tell him that he was crazy, that it was way too dangerous to be a hero while quirkless, that he should find some other dream as his was unattainable. Yes, young man, you can be a hero without a quirk, All Might said with a smile. I did, after all. You're quirkless? Izuku asked in awe, his eyes widening. I was, he clarified, looking around. You have to tell nobody this, but my quirk was given to me by my mentor, and from there I became the symbol you know today. What Izuku didn't know was that that was a half-truth. By this point, he had already given one for all to his niece, Melissa, but All Might's power had also been a gift by an aspect of the universe itself, the Strength Force. It's what allowed All Might to grow larger than life and punch so hard he could level buildings. While one for all certainly helped, the Strength Force ensured that All Might could continue to be a symbol well into the future. Young man, it is not a quirk that determines your lot in life, but what you choose to do with your life that matters. If you truly wish to be a hero, then I encourage you to do so. Then there was the flash of light and searing pain coursing through his entire body before he blacked out. I remember now, but this doesn't make sense. I've researched quirks before, and being struck by lightning and being in a coma should have made me feel much weaker, right? Izuku asked. Yes, that is quite right, Mr. Midoriya. Traditionally, your muscles should be atrophied, but instead they're in a chronic and unexplained state of cellular regeneration. Quite in line with someone with a regeneration quirk, Nizu stated, satisfied with his checkup as he hopped off of Izuku's bed, hands politely folded behind his back as he was willing to answer any questions the boy had. But I'm quirkless, Izuku said, feeling numb, like his whole world had just flipped upside down. Yes, our test proved as much, however. Nizu turned on his tablet and showed Izuku some camera footage of the hospital room they were currently in. As you can see, somehow, every time you flatlined, power to the entire hospital would cut out. However, I'm suspecting that that was a misnomer. Izuku, I don't believe your heart was stopping. I believe it was beating faster than our EKG meters could pick up, which, as you no doubt know, is essentially what every speed-based quirk user experiences when their power manifests. But, as you said, you are quirkless. So unless you were miraculously given a quirk, then that would mean that something else chose to give you this power. Something else? Izuku asked, completely lost. The Speed Force, All Might said gravely, bowing to Nizu. Forgive me for being late. I wish to inform young Midoriya's family that he was awake. Nizu nodded that it was okay and motioned for All Might to continue. Young man, there are forces that keep this universe, hell, all of reality, stable. As of right now, we are only aware of 4. The Speed Force, the Still Force, the Strength Force, and the Sage Force. I am the avatar of the Strength Force. And now it seems like the Speed Force has chosen you as its avatar. But what does that mean? Izuku asked. You say that these forces exist, that's all well and good. But what does that have to do with me? I'm just a quirkless nobody. You were quirkless, All Might corrected. And even then, you were far from a nobody. Now that you have the Speed Force in your veins, you are a speedster. Izuku, you have the potential to be faster than me and Ingenium combined. There's quite literally no limit to how fast you can go, the more you push yourself. But in order to do that, you need practice. A lot of practice. And that is why, with your permission, young Midoriya, I would like to personally train you for the UA entrance exam. Izuku's eyes widened as what All Might said sank in. Faster than the speed-based hero, faster than All Might going to UA, it was everything he had ever wanted once upon a time. But one condition. I want to take the normal exam, not the recommendation exam. And I want your word that May goes to UA as well. Niza chuckled. My dear boy, the support class exam was 2 months ago. Your sister passed with flying colors. Unfortunately, we won't be able to let you join her in the support classes this semester. However, after summer vacation, you can apply to join the support class as well. The rat dog bear thing held out his paw, and Izuku shook it. I know I'm going to have to work twice as hard as everyone else to get in, but I'm going to do my best, he swore. Ha, that a boy will start first thing tomorrow. However, I will give you your first lesson now. As a speedster, your metabolism is much higher than anyone else. You will need to eat far more than normal to keep up, otherwise you will pass out. I'd suggest as many high-calorie meals as possible. When you get enrolled, I'd see about having Lunch Rush develop a meal chart for you. For now, go see your family, young Midoriya. They have missed you dearly. Izuku May cried as she hugged her brother. Well, tackled him is more accurate. She refused to release the verdette until making sure he was absolutely okay. I saw you die. Your heart kept stopping. Izuku grinned and put May's hand on his chest, right above his heart. It's still beating, he assured her with a smile. Her brows furrowed. It feels really fast, like speed quirk fast. Her eyes widened. Izuku, did your quirk come in? May, you know he's quirkless, come on now. He's just excited to see us go see I Hatsum, said to his daughter, hugging Izuku with a grin. You scare the hell out of us, kid. Izuku, while returning the embrace, looked at All Might questioningly. The nod the number one hero gave him was crystal clear. You can tell them. Well, May's not that far off. You guys should probably sit down for this, Izuku said, going on to tell them everything that All Might had told him. So let me get this straight. Some cosmic entity decided that you are its avatar, and now you have super speed, May asked, her eyebrows raised. And All Might is going to be training you to use this power before the hero entrance exams. Oh, and you won't be able to join me in support until after the summer. Did I catch all that? Yeah, pretty much. Izuku shrugged. I see. I see dibs on being the one, Tio. I'll make your costume, May yelled with barely restrained glee. Laughs filled the room as All Might watched on. Content in the Speed Force's choice. If anyone was worthy of taking on that power and channeling it into heroics, it would be Izuku Midoriya. If it wasn't for that, he would have happily gifted the boy the power of the Strength Force and stepped down as the symbol of peace. Thankfully, it wouldn't have to come to that just yet. Instead, All Might closed his eyes, letting his breathing even out as his vision was surrounded by a cerulean blue. When he opened them again, he saw the smiling face of Nana Shimura. Communion with the Strength Force. I'm never going to get used to this, Toshinori Yagi muttered as he looked at the face of his mentor and mother figure, knowing that it was really just the embodiment of the Strength Force. See, while these forces were natural parts of the multiverse, they were also technically conscious. They were alive, but they had no physical bodies to speak of. Hence the avatars. Avatars served as a tether for these forces to survive, a true symbiotic relationship. The forces got to survive, and their avatars were granted fantastic abilities. A side effect of this was that if an avatar wished to communicate with its respective force, the force, having no real body of its own, would take the form of someone from the avatar's past, someone that the avatar had developed a strong emotional tether to. In Toshinori's case, it was the previous holder of One for All, Nana Shimura. The one who quite literally taught All Might everything he knows, Nana Shimura. I know, kiddo. Believe me, you aren't the first avatar to say that. But it's the easiest form to take. The Strength Force said with an understanding smile. How is he? The boy, he's healing well. Why the Speed Force chooses their avatar with a bolt of lightning is beyond me. If I hadn't been there, Toshinori trailed off, shaking his head. But you were. That's what matters, Toshi. Besides, you wouldn't even be here if we hadn't saved you from that train the Strength Force teased. In any event, we should trust their judgment. They haven't been wrong with their avatars before. Has there been any word from the other two? Toshi asked. The Strength Force shook their head. No, Sage and Still have both been radio silent still. They're picky, they like to take their time. If they don't pick someone quirkless like you and Izuku, then they'll pick someone with quirks that fit their respective abilities. I know Sage has their avatar chosen already, but is choosing to wait until the school year starts to select them. As for Stillwell, we're trying to dissuade them from their current choice. Dissuade him? How come? The Strength Force seemed to hesitate. Well, the person that still wants to become their avatar, they're in with a bad crowd, let's say. Some could say that he's being groomed to be capable of taking you down. Their reasoning is that as the Sage Force is meant to be my opposite and be able to counteract me, they, as the Still Force, should have their opposite be a villain capable of taking down young Midoriya, and vice versa. Because the Still Force is all about entropy and is the only force capable of slowing down the Speed Force entirely. Toshi recalled. Quite right. The only issue is that us being here has already changed the trajectory of this timeline immeasurably, and I'm concerned about how this change would affect the universe. The Strength Force said. How so? Toshinori asked. This was the first he had heard of it being possible to change the timeline. He'd have to file that away for Night Eye. The Strength Force paused for a moment, then disappeared. A few minutes later, it reappeared. The Speed Force has allowed me to tell you what the events of this universe were supposed to be, but only up to the point we are at currently. Observe. The Strength Force waved Air hand, and suddenly Toshi could see the past. All the past. It turned out that the forces were never supposed to exist in this universe, but found themselves bonding to it out of necessity after a crisis caused their multiverse to be erased. In the Prime Universe, Toshinori watched as he took a devastating blow from All for One, damaging his body to the point where he was slowly running out of time to do hero work. He watched as he bestowed One for All to Izuku, how the boy's mother never died and became one of his staunchest supporters. He cringed as Primum told the boy that he couldn't be a hero, only to shed a tear when he saw how readily the quirkless boy would run to save his friend, which also told Toshinori to make a mental note to keep an eye on this Bakugo, should he make it into UA. Toshi marveled at how differently things had gone from this one change, from this one event. You now understand why Izuku Midoriya is so important, Toshinori Yagi. In almost every universe, he goes on to achieve great things. Whether that be as a symbol of hope, as the boy who can turn into aliens, or as a boy who could destroy anything with a simple touch, he goes on to achieve great things. Put your faith in that boy, Toshi. He'll be the one to save this universe when the time comes. First steps. The next day, Izuku was up bright and early and, proving All Might correct, was absolutely starving. So much so that he ate 10 bowls of katsudon before he felt full. After that, he decided to take these new powers for a spin on his way to UA. He started small, just walking for a mile or so before breaking into a jog. First thing he noticed was that he had pushed what was normally his limit while jogging by about 5 miles, then 10, then 15. Okay, time to push a little further, Izuku thought to himself as he broke into a full run, feeling as though lightning was coursing through his veins. He had no idea how fast he was moving, but he knew for sure that it was faster than the bus he normally took to Mizutafu, as that bus usually took the Verdette about an hour and a half. Now, though, he made it to UA in under 30 minutes. This Speed Force, whatever it was incredible. He made his way to Ground Beta, where All Might texted him to meet the pro Izuku, had to spend about 30 minutes nerding out about the fact that he had the number 1 hero's phone number. When he entered the massive Mock City, he saw All Might standing there talking to Ingenium. Ah, young Midoriya, good, you're early. I'd like you to meet Tensei Ida, also known as. I think he knows who Ingenium is. All Might. Tensei said good-naturedly, shaking Izuku's hand. I've heard a lot about you. Speed quirks are pretty rare, so All Might call me over in case you got too out of control. That makes sense. So what am I doing today? Izuku asked. Today is very simple. You're just going to run in a straight line from this end of ground beta to the other and then straight back. This is going to help us establish a baseline to see just how fast it is you're running right now. No doubt you will get faster, so this will help us see where you will start. All Might explained, handing Izuku some clothes. Here, put these on. These will allow us in the control room to monitor your vitals and ensure your clothes won't burn up from the friction caused by you running. Izuku grabbed the clothes, making a mental note to ask May to make him some friction-proof clothes in case he had to run outside of his costume as he ducked into a nearby building to change. It wasn't the most comfortable outfit by any means, consisting of a snug red one-piece spandex outfit and a modified bicycle helmet equipped with a two-way radio. Oh, and did he mention that it was a little snug? When he stepped out, Ingenium and All Might were gone. Having placed a marker for where Izuku should start, he crouched down into a running stance as he once again felt the lightning coursing through his body, encouraging him to run. Ingenium watched the boy run, slack-jawed at the speed that the kid was going. 300,400,500 miles per hour and still climbing. Izuku Midoriya in the span of a minute had broken every speed quirk record 5 times over. He wasn't even sure his little brother could reach those speeds, and Tenya was faster than Tensei ever was at his age. He'd have to put in an internship request for the boy when he got into UA. Well, Tenya, looks like you got yourself a rival. Before Izuku knew it, he had been training for 3 months, and the entrance exam was the very next day. He found that as of right now, his top speed was 750 miles per hour, just a little bit under Mach 1, meaning if he really pushed himself, he could potentially hit Mach 1. If I get just a little bit faster, I can break the freaking sound barrier. Wait. Izuku hurriedly grabbed his hero analysis for the future Volume 13 and added a new note for his entry, where Mei had already taken the time to draw out his costume. He was liking the look of it so far, but maybe they should change the red in the emblem to white. I'm getting distracted. Izuku refocused himself and began to write on the page he had dedicated to special moves. He wrote, Possible new special move, Supersonic Punch. Pros. Hitting Mach 1 would ensure that the force of the punch is strong enough that it could damage even the toughest of hardening quirks. Achieving Mach 1 and breaking the sound barrier could prove to be an effective intimidation tactic. Cons. Distance. In order to achieve the proper speed for the supersonic punch, estimated distance would be 3 miles, rendering this move not possible in tight, close quarters. Risk of injury is high. In the best-case scenario, a successful punch could break my hand through sheer force. Worst-case scenario, if the punch doesn't connect, the resulting momentum would ensure that I break every bone in my body upon impact. Conclusion. While the supersonic punch is possible, the associated risk that comes with it means it should only be used as a last resort, preferably against an opponent much bigger than myself. Satisfied, Izuku closed the notebook and went to bed, knowing he'd want to be up bright and early to prepare for his exam. When he opened his eyes, he was looking into the smiling face of Inko Midoriya. And Mom, Izuku gasped, the tears immediately flowing down his face at the sight of his mother. Not exactly, my beautiful boy. I am the Speed Force. I took the form of your mother, as I knew it would be someone you could identify with and form a bond to. I could change to someone else, if you'd like. The Speed Force said. And no, it's okay. It's actually really good to be able to see her face again. Izuku admitted, wiping his tears away. But I'm guessing this isn't a social call. The Strength Force said you were smart. The Speed Force said fondly. You're right, it's not. With your exam tomorrow and your body now physically used to the power I have given you, it is time for me to teach you a few things. I won't be able to teach you everything. Some you will have to learn on your own. However, I can teach you the 3 most useful tools in your arsenal. Or rather, he is. The Speed Force motioned to an old man wearing a silver kettle helmet with gold wings on the ends. He was wearing a suit similar to Izuku's drawing, but instead of a circular emblem with a yellow lightning bolt in the middle, the man's costume simply had a golden lightning bolt in the middle of the chest. And the Jay Garrick suit from Flash Season 3, basically. My name is Jay Garrick, and kid, you just became part of the biggest legacy in the Omniverse. Now, from what I've heard, you have a good handle on the basics of your speed. However, the Speed Force isn't just super speed. It's how you use that speed that matters. There are 3 things the Speed Force wanted me to teach you, each of them useful in their own ways. The first is learning how to throw lightning. Throw what now, Izuku deadpanned. Lightning. Come on, kid. You thought that little light show behind you was for show. When you run, no. That lightning is your body utilizing the Speed Force. You can use it as a weapon when you need to, among other things. Here's how it works. Jay then ran in a circle, running slow enough that Izuku could catch every movement thanks to his speed. He watched as Jay channeled the lightning through his arm like a conduit and guided it through his arm in a focused blast. I still got it. Now you try, Jay said, giving Izuku the floor. It took Izuku a couple tries. His aim was off on the first few tosses, but after a while, he got the hang of it, hitting targets that Jay would conjure up. Good, that's good now. Next up is phasing. This one is pretty simple. If you vibrate every single cell in your body just right, you can go through any solid matter like it wasn't even there. Jay explained, summoning a brick wall to demonstrate. Jay then vibrated his hand and inserted it into the brick wall, coming out safely on the other side with no damage to the wall. It's useful for sneaking into places where you aren't supposed to be, Jay explained, his gaze hardening. It's also extremely dangerous. It's very easy to kill someone while phasing. You could run straight through somebody, for example, or vibrate only your hand and plunge it into someone's chest. I recommend using restraint and knowing when to use it. Now, phase through the wall. This test was far more painful for Izuku, as whenever he didn't phase, he was running full force into a brick wall. Finally, though, he managed to do it. To say it was a strange feeling was an understatement. It felt like his whole body fell asleep and was replaced with static until he made it out the other end. Well done, Izuku. Now for your final lesson, Speed Mirage. This one is very simple. When you move as fast as we do, you tend to create afterimages of yourself. These can be used to your advantage to confuse your enemy into not knowing which one of you is the real one. And since you move so fast, Jay explained, not knowing which one is the real me is especially dangerous, as I could be literally anywhere. Izuku finished. Exactly, watch, Jay said as he started to run in a zigzag pattern, creating hundreds of after images. If Izuku didn't share the same speed as the old man, he would have been thoroughly confused as to which one was the real Jay Garrick. Then it was Izuku's turn, and he found this to be the easiest of the 3 lessons, having created an army of mirages on his first try. Hey, Mr. Garrick, can I ask you a question? Izuku asked once the two caught their breath, just watching the Speed Force in its entirety, the lightning pooling across the sky at impossible angles at impossible colors. Call me Jay, kid. What's up? Jay chuckled. How many of us are there connected to the Speed Force? I mean, Izuku asked. You know, that's tough to say, especially nowadays. I know for certain that I was the first, but there have been hundreds, possibly even thousands of speedsters in my time. That's the thing about an infinite multiverse, kid. There's no telling how many of us there are. What matters is how we use it. Jay explained. Another thing, you keep saying omniverse and multiverse. What's the difference? Oh boy, kid, that's a whole different beast. All right, I'm guessing you're familiar with multiverse theory, how one choice creates a new universe, which creates a new universe. Izuku nodded. Good, that makes this easier. Well, that's half right. See, the omniverse is composed of multiple multiverses, all shaped by their own beings of power. For me, it was the World Forge. For another, it's the Beyonders, for you who knows, and there's these little universes that happen to exist between 2 multiverses. That's where you are. You exist in a universe that coexists between my multiverse and your quirked multiverse. Does that make sense? I think so. One last thing. It's all well and good that you taught me all these things, but how will I remember them when I wake up? Izuku asked. The easiest way to explain it is muscle memory. Everything that happened here in the Speed Force is still real, even if your body didn't physically experience it. It'll still remember the knowledge we have given you and call upon it when necessary. For now, though, you really should rest. And make sure you eat a lot. You don't want to end up like my successor. He kept passing out until he realized what was wrong with him. Jay laughed, the sound fading away as Izuku finally drifted off into proper sleep. The next day, Izuku did what he was asked and ate a massive breakfast before Mei slipped something into his hand. The exams allow you to have one support item, she explained, letting Izuku look at what she had put in his hand. A ring. Not just any ring, but a ring embossed with the logo on his drawing of his costume. That could only mean. You finished it, Izuku asked excitedly, putting the ring on. Mei nodded eagerly. We went through all the right channels. You can use the suit for the entrance exam. It'll be friction-proof, fire-proof, you name it. Everything to ensure you won't accidentally catch on fire from running too fast. Izuku hugged his adopted sister tightly before running out the door in a streak of yellow lightning. It was time. He had his suit. He had his new powers, and he was going to pass. No, fuck that. He was going to excel. He was going to let everyone know who he was. He was going to cast aside any doubt that he could be a hero. He was Izuku Midoriya, the fastest man alive. And he was going to tell everyone that he is here. The day had finally come. After breezing through the written exam, it had all come down to this. The practical. With his ring on his finger, he stretched at the massive gate to the testing area. The rules that Present Mike had laid out were pretty simple. There were 3 types of robots out in the Mock City, ranging from 1-3 points, as well as a hidden 0-pointer, which was meant to be avoided. Destroy robots to rack up points. The 40 with the highest points got put into the hero course. Seemed simple enough. A little too simple to Izuku. As the gates opened, Izuku held out his hand and ran as his costume flew out his ring, fitting the verdette like a second skin. He rushed through the streets of the Mock City, idly aware of the fact that nobody had ran in after him. Shit, was he too early? Would he be disqualified for being too eager? Go, there's no countdowns in the real world, Present Mike yelled, snapping Izuku out of his anxiety. He was safe. He needed to focus. He started by phasing through a 3-pointer, destroying its inner circuitry before emerging from the other side. Not bad at all, Izuku. He continued to bounce from robot to robot, collecting what he estimated to be 20 more points before pushing a violet-haired kid out of the way of an incoming 2-pointer, using his super speed to rapidly mold one of its legs into a makeshift club, handing it to the kid before running off. He felt good about his chances. Really good. He didn't think he'd take the top spot by any means, but if he kept up his current pace, he was sure he'd be able to make it in. And then he saw the 0-pointer. It was the size of a skyscraper and was leveling everything in its wake. If anyone was actually supposed to beat the damn thing, he would have seriously reconsidered applying to UA. As it was, he only needed to avoid the 0-pointer, and that was exactly what he intended to do, until... Help, I'm stuck. Fuck. Izuku saw the girl trapped under the rubble, about to be crushed by the 0-pointer. He couldn't push the rubble off. He had super speed, not super strength. He couldn't phase her out of the rubble. He didn't know if he could do that safely. He could accidentally kill the poor girl. That only left, oh god. Izuku turned and ran away from the 0-pointer until he was miles away. 2 miles to be exact. He then turned around and took a deep breath. He only had one shot at this. Wait, him right there. The one in the red. What is he doing? Midnight asked in the control booth, leaning forward to get a closer look at Izuku. All Might was also closely watching, knowing exactly what Izuku was going to do. He had done the math himself. He knew the risks. If Izuku managed to pull this off, he'd definitely be remembered in the halls of UA, that's for sure. He's not going to fight the 0-pointer, is he? Vlad King asked, his eyes wide as he watched on the screen as Izuku started running towards the 0-pointer. If he is, then he's extremely foolish, Aizawa muttered. Or extremely brave, Ectoplasm pointed out, pointing to the still, struggling girl. You think he's facing the big gun to save the girl, Snipe asked. It wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened, and a wannabe student stepped up. Cementas reminded everyone. Higari, can the cameras track how far he's going? Yeah, give me a sec, Power Loader muttered, pulling up a speed gauge on screen. The teachers all watched in awe at the speed. 500 miles per hour, 600, 700. He's going to break the sound barrier, Hound Dog whispered, watching the boy in awe. Nobody had ever gone that fast, speed quirk or otherwise. Sure enough, all the teachers watched as Izuku built up more and more speed, shattering glass as he went with the telltale boom as he broke the sound barrier, using his momentum to barrel into the zero-pointer, causing it to collapse with a sickening crunch. Holy shit, was that a midnight started before being interrupted by a loud laugh. Supersonic punch, ha ha ha, I haven't seen something that ballsy in years, All Might laughed. Back in the testing area, Izuku was clutching his broken arm as he ran to the trapped girl, who had finally managed to wriggle out of the rubble. Yep, definitely broke my arm with that little stunt. You okay, Izuku? Asked the girl. I feel like I'm the one who should be asking that to you. How the hell did you do that? The girl asked, bringing her fingertips together to negate her quirk. Oh, I ran so fast that I broke the sound barrier and channeled the momentum into a supersonic punch, Izuku said, using his non-broken hand to take his cowl off. The girl stood there in stunned silence for a minute. Huh. Should I mention I'm technically quirkless? Izuku added with an awkward fucking how that she motioned to the remains of the zero-pointer. Is not done by someone who is quirkless. She knew she was definitely overreacting. She was, after all, quirkless not even 9 months ago. Still, the fact that he was quirkless bus showed clear powers was concerning. Sure, she inherited her quirk from her uncle Might, but that was a special circumstance. If this boy had suddenly been given a quirk, Uncle Might would have to know about this. Then how the hell did you get your powers, Melissa? Asked the verdette suspiciously. Izuku rubbed his neck. Would you believe me if I told you that I got struck by lightning while talking to All Might? Okay, so either he's a liar or the Speed Force actually picked its avatar. Either way, I still need to talk to Uncle Might. Anyway, if it's all right with you, I think I'm going to pass out now, Izuku said, promptly collapsing, the adrenaline finally running out and catching up with the pain of his still very broken arm. When Izuku woke up, he was back in Recovery Girl's office. God, please don't tell me I was in another coma, he muttered. Don't you worry, dearie. It's not that bad. Thanks to that fast healing of yours, I was able to patch you up immediately. You've only been asleep for an hour, Recovery Girl said, patting his arm. Why they insist on that giant robot every year is beyond me. Izuku wasn't paying attention, though. Checking the time, he knew that he was cutting it close, but with his super speed, he should still be able to make it. He bowed in thanks to Recovery Girl before running to Iron Heights Penitentiary. He hadn't seen his father in an entire year. He knew that Hisashi had to be worried sick. News travels fast, even in prison, so Izuku's accident would have made it to his father. Couple that with the fact that Izuku could have gone and seen him at any point in the 3 months he was training, and he was feeling extra guilty of that fact. He should have gone to see Hisashi immediately after waking up, but he was so wrapped up in his speed and the fact that he had a chance to be a hero that the one surviving part of his biological family was cast out of his mind. As he walked through the familiar metal detector, he took a deep breath. Normally, the prison's quirk suppression wouldn't affect Izuku because he's quirkless, but would that still be the case? His powers didn't come from a quirk, sure, but would they still be suppressed? However, as Hisashi Midoriya sat down at the visitor booth and picked up the phone, all other thoughts were purged from Izuku's mind as he took a deep breath and picked up his phone and smiled. Hey, slugger, Hisashi said with a warm smile upon seeing his son. Izuku chuckled. You know, you've been calling me that since I was 8, he asked, recalling the day that nickname was coined like it was yesterday. He had come home battered and bruised, with a busted lip and bite marks on his neck. Kaken had been bullying some girl with a blood quirk, saying that she was nothing but a future villain and that he was doing the world a service by taking her down. Izuku, being Izuku, stood up to him and his cronies, even without a quirk. He gave it his all, defending this girl he didn't even know in a hopelessly outmatched fight, which ended up with the boy knocked out cold, blearily looking into the cat-like eyes of the girl. She couldn't understand why she would help him, even without a quirk of his own. His answer was simple. No quirk was villainous. He brought up Vlad King as an example, and to show he was genuine, he let her drink his blood. He never saw her again after that day, and somehow the altercation was his fault in the eyes of the school, because of course it was. And yet, when Izuku came home in the state he was all smiles. Why? Because he had helped someone. In the eyes of that one girl, he was a hero. You know, the funny thing is, I got into a fight today, Izuku added. Son, you were in a coma. Do you really think picking a fight is the best idea? Hisashi asked, concerned. It's not like that. It was the entrance exam today. They had us fighting against robots to score points. Izuku explained. Still, though, you don't have a quirk, son. I don't want to go against your dreams. But how do you know UA won't be like Aldera? Hisashi asked. Izuku expected this and took a deep breath. Yeah, about that. When I woke up from my coma, I wasn't exactly quirkless, he said, proceeding to tell his father everything. When he finished, Hisashi was silent for a while as he let his son's words sink in. His boy had powers, and more than that, he had already used those powers to save someone's life at the risk of his entrance to UA. On one hand, he wanted to remind his son that it was a test, and there's no way in hell that the girl he saved was in any real danger. However, he couldn't even describe how proud he was of Izuku. His baby boy was becoming not just a great man before his eyes, but had already become a hero in the elder Midoriya's eyes. Izuku, listen to me. UA would be an absolute fool to not accept you. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something else going on with that test. Heroes aren't just supposed to be up villains. Are they? Hisashi reminded him with a smile. No, you think I might get rewarded for helping people during the test? Izuku asked, realization dawning. I think that if UA doesn't at the very least acknowledge it, then you need to seriously consider a different hero school. Hisashi responded with a laugh. But listen, he put his hand on the glass, and Izuku returned the gesture, father and son separated only by glass. No matter what ends up happening, you have made me so proud, kiddo. I know you're going to do great things. Running around, saving people in a flash. With that, the telltale buzzer signified the end of the prison's visiting hours, meaning that Izuku had to go. I love you, Dad, Izuku said, hanging up the phone and watching as the prison guard escorted his father away. Somehow, I'm going to get you out of there, Dad. I can feel it. I'm closer than ever to finding out who really killed Mom. When he got home, he still had his father's words on his mind, especially those last 3 words. The flash, it has a nice ring to it. I'm home, he called, looking around. Gosei and Yamada Hatsum were probably still at work, meaning Mei was probably in her room or in the garage accidentally blowing something up. Izuku, a pink blur, yelled, tackling Izuku to the ground again. How'd you do? How about the suit? Did it hold up? Did it explode? Mei asked in a flurry of questions. Is that what I sound like when I mutter? Izuku thought with a chuckle. I think I did good enough to get in. The suit was absolutely perfect. It didn't explode, but the left arm is partially wrecked since I used the supersonic punch on a giant robot. He answered her questions patiently. Mei shrieked. Yeah, and like we thought, it broke my arm. We might want to reinforce the suit. Though if we do, it might weigh the suit down and hinder my speed, Izuku muttered, thinking. Well, I might have something. I was planning on using it for my project back when you didn't get super speed, but it might be exactly what your suit needs. Really, what is it? Izuku asked apprehensively. He knew all about her tendency to blow things up, intentional or no. I found it in this chunk of rock in the junkyard, she explained, holding out a chunk of it to him. It was a jagged chunk of black metal, almost like obsidian. I call it dwarf star alloy. As Izuku walked into the halls of UA, he figured his life couldn't get much better. He had performed top of the class, he had a new and improved suit, he had his hero name locked in already. There was nothing that could ruin his day. You think you're better than me, you damn extra. Well, almost nothing. Shit. Well, I suppose I used up all my good luck then. Taking a deep breath, Izuku opened the door to Class 1A and immediately locked eyes with Bakugo, whose eyes widened. Bakugo growled, tiny explosions popping from his hands. "How the fuck are you here, you damn quirkless cheater?" he yelled, charging at Izuku. He sighed, yellow lightning crackling off of his skin as time slowed down. He knew this was going to happen, but it didn't make it any less annoying. As Bakugo and the rest of the class moved in slow motion, Izuku calmly made his way to his seat. He knew he'd have to deal with Kakin sooner rather than later, but right now, he just wanted to survive his first day. As Izuku sat down, he turned off his speed, causing everyone to look back and forth. "Holy shit, you're the guy from the entrance exam that took out the zero-pointer in one punch," Kirishima realized, his eyes widening. "Bullshit," Bakugo growled. "Wait, that was you?" Ida asked, his eyes wide. "You were the one that was faster than me." "Wait, supersonic punch," guy, a familiar voice said, causing Izuku to look up at the blonde girl with glasses. Now that he thought about it, he never did catch her name. My name is Izuku Midoriya, not supersonic punch guy," he said with a sheepish grin. "Oh my god, I never got your name," she squeaked with an apologetic bow. "I am sorry. I am Melissa Shield." "Shield, you aren't related to David Shield, by any chance?" Izuku asked. Melissa smiled brightly. "He's my dad." "That's so awesome, my friend. May has been wanting to go to our island for years. Mr. Shield is like her own personal hero. Do you think we'd? If you're going to be here to socialize, you might as well leave now." Aizawa interrupted as he walked into the classroom. "I understand wanting to form bonds with your classmates, but there is a time and a place for that." He rolled in a box of UA gym uniforms. "You can socialize at lunch. For now, put these on and meet me outside for your quirk assessment." "So what exactly is a supersonic punch?" Kaminari asked as the boys got changed in their locker room. "So basically, if I build up enough speed to hit Mach 1, I break the sound barrier. If I hit something at that speed, it doesn't matter what it's made of, I could damage it," Izuku explained with a grin, taking off his shirt, revealing the numerous scars and burns adorning his chest. "Jesus, dude, where did all those come from?" Sato asked, wincing just at the start. Izuku didn't immediately answer for a moment, glancing at Bakugo. The boy said nothing, but glared back at Izuku with those beady, hate-filled eyes, as though daring him to say something. Normally, Izuku would have been terrified, defenseless even, but that was back when he was a quirkless nobody, which he certainly was no longer. So instead, he looked Bakugo dead in the eye and said two simple, devastating words. "Ask him." Aizawa's eyes narrowed as the boys left their locker room. The tension between them was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Unfortunately, unlike the rest of the school, the locker rooms had no cameras or microphones out of respect to the students' privacy, so Aizawa wouldn't be able to directly find out what had happened. Although, judging how a certain Katsuki Bakugo was practically frothing at the mouth while glaring at Midoriya, he knew he'd at least be able to narrow it down. "All right, now that we are all here, I can explain what the quirk assessment test is. If you remember back in high school, you would do fitness tests to see how you're doing aesthetically. This is basically the same thing, except we're doing what those schools should have been doing the entire time and allowing you to use your quirks. This is to help me establish a baseline for how your quirks work. Normally, this is where I'd threaten whoever scores the lowest, but I'm not going to do that for the simple reason that I picked this class myself. I know you all have the potential to be heroes. It's why in the coming year, I will be pushing you as hard as I can. Some of you may hate me toward the end, but I hope you one day come to understand the reasoning why I work the way I do. All that out of the way, we're going to start with the ball throw. Anything goes as long as you stay in the circle. Bakugo, you start us off," Aizawa said. Bakugo picked up the ball, imagining it as that stupid Deku's face as his palms crackled with explosions. Daihi bellowed, using his explosions to propel the ball forward, clocking in at 705. 3 meters. Aizawa sighed inwardly. Well, now he had a decent idea who the aggressor was in the locker room situation. He'd have to get Midoriya to tell him what happened. "All right, Midoriya, you're up next." Bakugo smirked at Izuku as he walked past. "Good luck beating that, Deku," he taunted. Izuku, for his part, wasn't even paying attention to Bakugo's words, already formulating a plan in his head. The designated circle didn't exactly give Izuku much room to run when he stopped to think about it. So how was he going to do this? Simple. He would wind up his arm in super speed. Izuku did just that, letting his arm build up more and more momentum until he threw the ball with a satisfying crack. 28 kilometers. Not bad, Midoriya. Next, Aizawa yelled. The final test was the 50-yard dash, and the final matchup was something everyone, excluding a fuming Bakugo, was looking forward to. Tenya Ida versus Izuku Midoriya. Is it shameful to say I've been looking forward to this? Your speed is unlike any that I have seen, Ida said with a smile as he got into position. Izuku could only laugh as he shook his head. No, I know what you mean. I was hoping I could challenge someone with a speed-based quirk, so I could see how fast I am in comparison. He then got into position himself. How about a friendly wager? Oh, I'm intrigued. Do go on. Ida raised an eyebrow. Your brother is ingenium. Right, if I win, put a good word for me come internships, Izuku asked. I see. And if you lose, Ida asked, intrigued. Then I owe you a favor. Anything at all. Izuku grinned. A slow grin began to spread across Tenya's face. Was this what having a friend was like? Having a rival? I accept the terms. All right, if you guys are done talking, we can begin. Aizawa muttered, beginning the countdown. 3. Izuku could feel the speed force coursing through his veins. 2. Tenya could feel his engines roaring, eager to show off just how fast he was. 1. The very air was charged with Izuku's electricity, and the very ground shook from the force of Tenya's engines. Go! It was over just as fast as it had begun, with both students already at the finish line before the students could react. Everyone turned to Aizawa for the official ruling. Tenya Ida, 3. 4 seconds. That's a record, Aizawa said, causing Izuku to clap the engine user on the back. That was promptly broken by Izuku Midoriya. 51 seconds. Tenya's jaw dropped. He knew Izuku was fast, but to run 50 meters in almost half a second, shaking off his shock, he shook Izuku's hand. Well, a bet is a bet. I'll talk to my brother as soon as I can, he said with a proud grin. Deku, how the fuck did you do that, you quirkless MPPPPHHHH, Bakugo bellowed, immediately getting wrapped up in Aizawa's capture scarf, his eyes glowing red. He did not look happy. Bakugo, my office. Now he barked, motioning to Midoriya. You too. Hey, how is that fair? Midoriya did nothing wrong, Hana pointed out. You're right, Zero. He didn't. I should have clarified, my apologies. Aizawa sighed. Midoriya, you aren't in trouble, but seeing as you clearly have history with young Bakugo, I want to get your side of the story as well. Are you comfortable with that? Izuku had to bite his tongue, so he didn't voice his shock. Bakugo getting in trouble, teachers seeking him out to give his side of the story, he wasn't used to this in the slightest. But he knew that if there was ever a time to advocate for himself, to speak up, now was the time to do it. And if it hurt Kakin, even just a little bit, all the better. So Izuku had a bit of a vindictive streak. Sue him. Yes, sir. It started when I was 4 years old. Everyone was getting their quirks except for me. I'm sure the teachers already told you, but my powers aren't natural. But anyway, that's where the problems began. Why are you being so mean? Kakin Izuku asked, standing between Katsuki and the poor kid he was picking on, all because he had a weak quirk. That was all I remember asking him before I was knocked out by an explosion directly to my head. When I came to, the kid I was trying to protect was gone too. That was the day that I learned all men aren't created equal. Are you serious? An explosion at that range should have caused a TBI, at least Aizawa hissed. He was upset at Bakugo's little outburst, but now he was downright livid. It did. Izuku nodded, counting the injuries on his hand. Thanks to Bakugo, I've had numerous cracked or outright broken bones, a TBI, more burns than I can count, partial deafness in my right ear, and that's not even getting into the emotional and mental damage he put me through. It's only because I got my powers the way I did that I'm even healthy enough to be a hero, to be honest. Aizawa frowned at that. This was the same kid that, according to All Might, had asked if he could be a hero while quirkless. If he was that damaged and still wanted to be a hero, this kid's drive was something else. How long did this go on, and why did you never tell anyone, a teacher, the principal, anyone? Izuku laughed humorlessly. Mr. Aizawa, you asked that like it's still not happening. If you didn't do something, I was going to. I have powers now. I'm done letting him walk all over me. As for why I didn't tell anyone, that's more complicated. For one, Aldera either didn't believe me or chose to ignore me. I don't know which. And Bakugo's mom is my godmother. I call her Aunt Mitsuki. Besides my dad and the Hatsums, she and Uncle Masaru are the closest thing I have to family. But that being said, I think Aunt Mitsuki knows. When my mom died, she didn't take me in. I think that's because she knew what Bakugo would do. Please don't put it against her. I know she tried her best with Bakugo, but there's some people who are just Izuku trailed off, either not wanting to say anymore or not knowing the words to say. Aizawa sighed. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Bakugo's side of things, and then I'm going to call his parents. I've dealt with enough situations like this to know that you are not at fault. I'm going to recommend you start some sessions with Hound Dog. He's our guidance counselor and a trained therapist. I think you have some unresolved issues that might be good to talk through in a safe space. Do you have anything else that you want to say to me before I let you go back to class? Yeah, Ido. Izuku said with a deep breath, knowing full well that he was going to regret this. Don't expel him. Few things surprise the eraser hero, but that did throw him for a curveball. Explain. I know Bakugo. All he cares about is becoming the #1 hero, whatever it takes. If you expel him and most likely blacklist him from any hero courses, he'll just turn around and become a vigilante. And that's the best case scenario. And the worst, Aizawa asked, already dreading what the boy would say. A volatile teenager who feels like he deserves to be the best and feels like he needs to prove it by any means necessary. If that doesn't scream terrorist, I don't know what does. Izuku answered bluntly. Fine, what do you suggest? Aizawa asked. This was all proving to be more of a headache than he realized. Put him in Gen Ed, bar him from going to the sports festival this year. If he continues causing problems, then you can expel him. Izuku explained, meeting his teacher's gaze. Everyone deserves a second chance, but there won't be a third. Aizawa chuckled, looking at his student. You're something else. You know that not many heroes would even consider what you just did. All right, you can go. Izuku walked out of the office, taking a deep breath. It was a strange feeling, finally being able to say his piece and be heard. He had his doubts, but Aizawa had done his due diligence and given him a fair shot. That was all Izuku could ask for. Izuku yelled, meeting him outside as she once again tackled the boy in a hug. Your classmates told me what's going on. Are you okay? Classmates, Izuku asked, surprised as he saw Ida and Melissa walking up to them. We want to make sure you were okay, Melissa explained as Mei helped Izuku to his feet. As Izuku stood, he looked at the small group, his friends, and a warm smile broke across his face. Yeah, I think I will be. He smiled. Unnoticed by Izuku and Ida, Mei had to look away to hide the blush that peppered her cheeks. Mei yelped as she was pulled aside by Melissa. The girl was deceptively strong for some of her size. Is there something going on between you and Izuku? She asked the support girl, causing Mei to splutter in surprise. The truth is, she loved Izuku. She had ever since they first met. But her being the way she was, she didn't know how to properly express it. How do you tell your best friend and borderline brother that you love them so much that it hurts? How do you tell them that they're the only thing that can willingly pull you out of their hyperfixation because you want to be around them? Mei took a deep breath. She knew she couldn't keep these emotions in. She needed to tell someone. I love him, she admitted quietly. I love him, but I doubt he feels the same way. Melissa nodded in understanding. But how do you know? She asked gently. How do you know he doesn't feel the same way? Did you ever ask? Well, no, Mei admitted, looking down at the ground. But why would he? He's the class superstar, the one who took down the 0-pointer in one punch. I'm just me. Mei, Melissa said, putting her hair on the pink-haired girl's shoulders. You will never know unless you tell him how you feel. Besides, he's wearing the costume you made for him. Right, if he's willing to do that, and not even consider getting a second opinion on the costume. that tells you exactly how much faith and trust he has in you. Just talk to him. He'll listen. I know he will. Which is how Mei found herself standing outside Izuku's bedroom, heart hammering against her chest. This should have been easy, right? She's been in his room countless times before, so what made this so difficult? She took a deep breath and knocked on his door, which almost immediately opened, Izuku's confused-looking emerald eyes looking into her yellow crosshairs. Mei, is something wrong? He asked. Can we talk? Mei asked nervously. I have a lot I need to say to you. Just don't say anything until I finish, please. Yeah, of course, Izuku said, letting Mei into his room and shutting the door. Mei took a deep breath. She had to say it. She had to get it out. So why was it so hard to say? She had never been afraid to speak her mind before. Finally, she closed her eyes and exhaled slowly, allowing the words to just tumble out. I love you, Izuku. I know it's weird. We've basically been siblings since we were 11, but ever since that day you've come into my life, I have loved you. I don't know what this means, or if you even feel the same way. I doubt it, because you're on your way to be this amazing superhero, and I'm just here playing with my toys, making things blow up 9 times out of 10. I don't deserve your attention. I know I don't. You could find someone who makes better gear than me, who's prettier than me, who's more. She didn't even get to finish her entire speech, as she felt Izuku's lips crash into hers. While it was clear that neither of them were very experienced in this department, the emotion was there. It was tender, gentle, it was everything Mei had ever wanted, to the point where when they finally broke apart, Mei felt an almost emptiness. Mei, look at me, Izuku said quietly, and Mei forced herself to look into those lovely green eyes. I love you too. I always have, and I always will. I mean, even before the Speed Force came into my life, you were working day and night to make me an array of gear so that I could achieve my dreams. How could I not fall in love with you? Then, as for you not being good enough, you are for the first time in your life completely and utterly wrong. In my eyes, there will never be someone more beautiful than you. There will never be anyone who makes my gear as well as you do. You deserve all of my attention. You deserve my heart. You deserve all that I am and more. That lightning bolt, it didn't just hit me, Mei. It hit you too. When I'm running, you're right there with me. There wouldn't be a Flash without you, Mei Hatsum. If there was one emotion that Mei felt that night, it was relief. Everything that she was afraid of hadn't come to pass. Izuku had reciprocated her feelings and had made her feel far better about herself in one night than making her babies had made her feel her entire life. Hell, even telling their parents wasn't nearly as awkward as she thought it would be. When Mom and Dad came home from work to see their 2 kids sitting on the couch, waiting for them while holding hands, they had known immediately. Rather than being upset, though, Gosei Hatsum just sat down with them and had a long chat. Listen, I have watched you 2 be in love with each other since before you 2 knew what love was. He started. Me and your mother knew that this was always going to happen eventually. I won't lie to you, it's going to be difficult. You 2 have practically grown up as siblings, and people are going to believe that that is still the case. You're going to be judged for it, as there are people in this world who will refuse to listen to anything that isn't their own beliefs. Do you 2 think you can handle that? Neither Mei or Izuku hesitated. Their minds were made up the moment they confessed to one another. Absolutely. Then you both have my and your mother's blessing. I love you guys. Please, please, please be safe, okay? Gosei pleaded. Mei, for the first time in a long time, found herself tearing up as she and Izuku embraced their father, or in Izuku's case, foster dad. We will love you too, they said. So what now? Izuku asked, looking down at Mei. They had spent the rest of the night cuddled up in each other's arms in Izuku's bed, watching old pre-Quirk anime. I don't know, Mei admitted. I never thought we'd get this far, to be honest. Honestly, I thought you'd have a crush on that Melissa girl. Izuku laughed and shook his head, stealing a kiss from Mei. She's a good friend, but there's only one girl for me. Mei couldn't help but giggle. Good answer. Honestly, I think we should take it slow. This is a big change for both of us. There's no doubt in my mind that we're dating. That's not what I'm saying. I want people to see us and understand, okay, hush is off limits. Other than that, though, I think we should go slow. Go on a few dates so we can get used to this. Izuka nodded. That's a good idea, honestly. What about we have our first date next week, Aizawa? I mentioned something about a field trip, and knowing him, it's going to be stressful as hell. Going on a date with my girlfriend sounds like the perfect way to distress to me. Mai nodded. I'd like that. And I'm going to have to get used to you calling me your girlfriend. She giggled. He chuckled. Yeah, you and me both. At any rate, it's getting late and we have classes tomorrow. As understanding as Gosei and Yamada are about us dating, I'm pretty sure it doesn't extend to us sleeping in bed together. You should probably get to your room, Izuku said, stealing one last kiss from Mei. Yeah, you're probably right. Mei sighed as they broke away. I love you. I love you too. Thanks for watching.